All right. Good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, January 8th. Where are we?
All the way.
Rachel Rex has a released already. Did you see that?
No, I think I missed something. School.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
Recording in progress.
Can you see if I'm muted? I'm muted.
Is it not working?
Not working for me, but don't worry about me.
What's not working?
Well, I can't.
What's the feedback you need, Gary?
We're still getting feedback.
Oh.
Somebody have their sound on?
Kathy, was you, President? I'm muted.
Okay. Good. All good.
Yeah, but I'll.
Okay. All right.
Bill's listed in the attendee side, not a panelist.
Okay, I'll help out with that in a moment.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2025. Happy New Year, everyone. Not 28th. January 8th, 2025. Happy New Year, everyone. This is our first meeting of the Gloucester School Committee of this year. We are meeting at the Gloucester High School Library at 32 Leslie O. Johnson Road in Gloucester, Massachusetts. The public is welcome to attend meetings in person or alternatively through the Zoom link provided on the agenda. The meeting notice will reflect if the meeting is via Zoom only. As the recent amendments to the open meeting law allow, the school committee may continue to hold meetings remotely. Please note the in-person meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the remote connection. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during all communications to be recognized to speak. I will call the meeting to order and we should do introductions here first.
Gary Frisch, CFO.
Amy Pasquarello, Assistant Superintendent.
Ben Loomis, Superintendent. Jeremy McKean, School Committee.
Melissa Fred, School Committee.
Kathy Clancy, School Committee.
Bill Melvin, School Committee.
Keith Minio, School Committee.
Jane Herman, Student Advisory Council.
Stephanie Carisi, Recording Secretary.
And I will take the commission of Gloucester Public Schools is for all students to be successful, engaged, lifelong learners. And I ask that you join me. So without objection, I would like to take a report from Jane Herman for the Gloucester High School Student Advisory Council.
First, I'd like to report that a GHS student who's in the automotive program recently worked with the Gloucester and Manchester Harbor Masters and is representing both communities at the Boston Boat Show this week. Second, yesterday, the district level DECA competition was held in Danvers. Gloucester DECA students did extremely well in their respective events, and many students even placed for the state level conference, which will be held in Boston at the end of February. Third, I'd like to report news from the Youth Advisory Council. They worked to create a winter gratitude wall at GHS outside the cafeteria. GHS students and staff wrote what they were grateful for on paper snowflakes that would be displayed on the wall. Additionally, in December, 2 Youth Advisory Council students received certificates of completion for the Climate Change Leadership Program. Since these 2 students participated, GHS will receive a second microgrant of $750 for climate and environment-related projects. Now that we're back in school, we have reached the halfway point in term 2, which means progress reports have come out for all GHS students. National Honor Society members are working with various students to ensure they are on track to complete the term. Midterms will be held in the second week of February, so students are also busily preparing for their upcoming exams. After a successful set of shows in December, the GHS theater program has shifted gears towards the spring musical. Stay tuned for more details, including casting and show dates in the upcoming months. The sophomore class is hosting a fundraiser at the Azorian tomorrow night, January 9th from 4 to 9 p.m. As long as you mention the fundraiser, a portion of both dine-in and takeout proceeds will go towards the class. Additionally, the GHS swim and dive team has their annual bowling fundraiser this Sunday, January 12th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Cape Ann Lanes. Finally, with Valentine's Day fast approaching, Student Council and NHS students are preparing for the infamous Secret Pals Week. During this week, each student is assigned a teacher with the purpose of giving them a small gift or note each day throughout the week leading up to Valentine's Day. We do this annually as it is a perfect opportunity to show support for our faculty members. Thank you.
Great. Can I just ask a quick question, sir? Did you say the bowling fundraiser was Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday,
Sunday. Is Sunday coming?
yes, January 12th, 5 to 7.
I thank you very much, Jane, for your excellent report, always very helpful and detailed and really informative about what's happening in high school, especially with all the leadership activities of our students. I've got something for you, which is the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents Certificate of Academic Excellence. And that is provided or awarded to a high school student in each district for academic excellence. It's given to high school students who distinguish themselves in the pursuit of excellence during their high school careers. You certainly exemplify that. So I know you're looking at a number of excellent schools for next year. And we wish you luck for the rest of the school year, obviously, and all the things you're doing. But also wish you luck on figuring out what's next for you after you cross the graduation stage here in the stadium in June. So
Thank you.
to you.
Back my head.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Okay, next item of business is oral communications. You're welcome to stay or
Okay.
the schedule allows. Next item of business is oral communications. If there's anybody that would like to speak online, raise your hand. If there's anybody in person, can stand and speak. Carrie, sure. Go ahead. We don't have a podium today, so right there is good.
Okay, I didn't know if I had to get near the speaker now.
No.
Right here is good.
Yeah, great.
Do I have to do anything or just speak?
Just speak.
All right, here we go.
Name and address. for the-
All right, I wasn't sure on that. All right, Carrie Callahan Donahue, and I'm at 29 Haskell Street. Also a proud member of the Union of Gloucester Educators. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak before you today. I'm here this evening to just address a decision that I believe compromises principles of fairness and equity. The decision to withhold retroactive pay from our retired paraprofessionals is not just an issue of numbers on the balance sheet. It's a matter of respect and trust. These employees were here with us, working diligently and with dedication throughout the entire duration of lengthy and challenging contract negotiations. They gave their best years of service to this district, and they deserve the compensation they earned, even if their retirement occurred during lengthy bargaining process. It is important to consider the broader implications of this decision. Not paying these individuals the time they worked sends a message that hard work and loyalty of employees, especially those nearing retirement, can be dismissed or ignored simply because a contract wasn't settled in time. This not only undermines trust, but could create a chilling effect for current employees who might one day face similar circumstances. The fear that their years of service and compensation they earned could be held up due to delays in negotiations may cause some to question whether it's worth staying in their positions. We cannot afford to set such a precedent. If we allow this decision to stand, what message are we sending to our dedicated staff, especially those nearing the end of their careers? If the compensation they earned isn't honored because contracts weren't signed in time, it could continue to erode the trust between the school committee and our staff. I ask you to reconsider this decision, not just a matter of financial policy, but as a matter of decency. The individuals affected by this decision gave their time, effort, and expertise to this district. They fulfilled their end of the bargain, and we now ask the school committee to fulfill theirs. The legacy we leave as a school district isn't just about test scores. It's about how we treat each other. Let's make sure we're setting the right example, one based on fairness, integrity, and respect for our dedicated staff. Thank you for your time. I hope that you'll consider these words thoughtfully as you move forward with the decisions that impact all of us, students, staff, and the community. Thank you.
Two people, do you want to speak?
I do.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Grant. I live at 4 Stewart Avenue in Beverly. I'm a first grade teacher at West Parish and a member of the Union of Gloucester Educators. I wanted to follow up on something that was discussed at the December school committee meeting. Principal Cook was presenting MCAS results and talked about how they are now using STAR testing in the high school. School committee members were asking why there weren't more gains in the data. The answer is so obvious. And as a school committee member in a district that follows a tiered system of support, I would hope you already know the answer. A lack of interventions is one. 3 times a year, teachers sit in data meetings to identify students who are struggling and not meeting benchmarks. We figure out what skills they need to be successful. Then we put them in intervention groups with other students who are struggling with the same thing. It all sounds great, but we need paras to run those interventions. At West Parish, we used to have 3 designated interventionists. 1 position was cut 2 years ago and never filled. The other 2 are consistently pulled as sub-coverage. Intervention should be happening every day because we know every day matters. I agree with you that every day matters, but it's very frustrating when that's our district motto, but we don't run it in our schools. We don't follow that in the way we run our schools. In the youngest grades, we are trying to help these struggling students catch up before the gap increases. An intervention group that doesn't meet consistently is just a waste of everyone's time. Do you know what a tier 2 intervention student becomes without intervention? A special education referral. So the next time you look at data presented on our students and you want to know why kids aren't meeting benchmark, why they aren't making more gains, ask, is that student flagged for intervention? How often did their intervention group actually take place? Then reflect and ask yourself how you can fix this perpetual problem, because you are, after all, our school committee. Thank you.
And there are 2 hands raised online. Rachel Rex.
Elevate Dawn. Elevate Dawn.
Dawn. Okay. Dawn, the only you can speak, please.
I'm John Leone, 110 Prospect Street, Apartment 7 in Gloucester. I'm actually speaking to you as a parent today. I'm coming to you as a parent of my delightful middle school student. But I want to bring to the committee's attention some challenges that my son has been facing recently in his partnership program for students with autism and social emotional disabilities. He has reported to me that the environment has become increasingly difficult for him due to the presence of an unsafe student and the lack of available support staff when he is in need of help. As a result, He has told me he has begun to have outbursts in class when he's having trouble processing a situation. He is disengaged from his peers outside of his core peer group that he's known since he was in preschool. And he now spends much of his time in the partnership support block in isolation, fixating on objects like magnets on the floor and in the corner. This behavior appears to be a coping mechanism as he tries to shield himself from a situation that is making him uncomfortable and anxious. This is the polar opposite of what we should of what he should be experiencing during this period when he should feel safe and supported. But more concerning is that these struggles are not only occurring at school and his participation in the classroom, but they're now spilling over into his home life as well. His increased difficulty with tolerance towards others, including family members, is noticeable. And we are seeing signs of emotional regression that we hadn't encountered before. It is deeply troubling to witness these challenges and these changes as they are directly linked to the current learning environment, where he is unable to receive services when needed, to be fully engaged, and feel safe in his learning environment. I do understand that resources may be limited, but I urge the committee to consider additional support for all students who may be similarly impacted. The lack of adequate staff, a safe and structured environment is impeding my son's social emotional progress, and I am concerned about the long-term effects this will have on his interpersonal relationships. I appreciate your time and consideration of these issues, and I would welcome any suggestions or solutions that could help address this situation in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. And Rachel Rex.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Rex. I live at 16 Elnu Avenue in Beverly, and I am the co-president of the Union of Gloucester Educators. I come before you today to address matters of great importance to the future of our district and the quality of education we provide to the students of Gloucester. These matters demand our collective attention and responsibility, particularly as we reflect on the events of this past November and look ahead to the challenges we continue to face. First, I must remind this body of the significant responsibility you bear in the work stoppage that transpired in November. The event was not merely a moment of disruption, it was a call to action, underscoring the urgent need for safe, equitable working conditions, fair pay, and meaningful dialogue between educators and district leadership. The decisions made by this committee, or in some cases, the lack thereof, played a critical role in the circumstances leading to the strike and dragging it out 15 days. It is imperative that this committee acknowledges its role and recommits to fostering a collaborative and respectful environment where the voices of educators are not just heard, but acted upon. The stakes are too high for anything less. Equally pressing is the issue of attracting and retaining highly qualified educators in our district. Just this school year alone, we have witnessed a troubling number of resignations, leaving classrooms without the experienced, dedicated professionals our students deserve. Though not unique to Gloucester, this trend has been exacerbated by your actions, and it is something we must confront with urgency and resolve. The responsibility to address this challenge lies squarely with Gloucester School Committee. To ensure that Gloucester remains a competitive and desirable destination for top-tier educators, you must prioritize competitive, livable compensation, a respectful, safe, supportive work environment, and professional growth opportunities vastly different than what Matt Bergman provided on November 4th. These are not luxuries, but necessities in a landscape where educators have opinions and where their expertise is in high demand. Moreover, investing in our educators is an investment in our students and their futures. Failing to act decisively jeopardizes not only our district standing, but the educational outcomes of the children entrusted to us. I urge this committee to take these issues to heart and to act with the sense of urgency and responsibility they demand. Our educators, and more importantly, our students, are counting on you to rise to this occasion. Thank you for your time and attention to these critical matters. I am confident that together we can build a stronger, more vibrant educational community for Gloucester.
Oh, go ahead.
My name is Sean Lilly, and I reside at 4 Kitefield Road in Rockport. I'm an educator here at the high school in the Life Skills program, and I have the privilege of being a member of the Union of Gloucester Educators. Conventional wisdom says that any extreme situation, crisis, or conflict reveals who you really are at your core. Well, this community certainly experienced an event that qualifies as an extreme situation, crisis, and conflict. The strike we as a union were forced to undertake in November. That struggle definitely revealed who my brother and sister educators are, which is why it really is, as I said, a privilege to be a UGE member. I still don't know how someone like me gets to be part of a group of people like this. When I think of how the strike brought forth the best of Rachel Rex's leadership, Matt Lewis's passion, Rich Francis's strength, Grace Scola's talent for giving strength to others, Jess Ruggles' endless energy, Eric Lee's quiet resolve, and the solidarity and decency I was on the receiving end of from Dan Graham, Dawn Leone, Christine Travers, Marissa Lundy, April Howdala, Amy Clayton, and about 100 other people who became siblings instead of just colleagues. I know I landed with people who, when forced into a terrible but genuinely historic moment in time, showed just how what's good about them got better when being what's good about them became both critical and difficult. There's no need to go into any great detail about what the strike revealed about the character of the mayor and the school committee. It's a matter of public record. It's enough to say that what was revealed about who the mayor and the school committee really are stands in stark contrast to what was revealed about who we as educators really are. But what is worse and what is relevant now is that who they were during the work stoppage, the labor equivalent of a state of war, continues to be who they were during a time of labor peace. In the aftermath of the contract being settled, a handful of retired paras are being denied retro pay on a technicality. Really? Is that what you want to be? Is that what you want to be famous for? Finding a reason not to pay just a little bit more to a group of women, and they're all women, who gave decades of their lives to working with their most vulnerable students for what was never a living wage? We've heard all this talk about healing and coming together and moving on. If those paras got their retro pay, don't you think that would go a long way to making that talk about healing and coming together and moving on real, or at least believable? But I guess we shouldn't be surprised. The mayor and committee showed us who they were when showing us who they were mattered most. I guess who they were then is who they are now. Well, we, the members of the UGE, are who we showed ourselves to be, and you can bet the House will continue to be. We'll continue to show the leadership and passion and strength and energy and resolve and solidarity and decency that were our stock in trade in November 2024. We will continue to show up for each other, stand up for what we know is right, and hold our elected leaders accountable when we know they're wrong. Not every moment is a moment of truth, but our moment of truth taught us to be what we were then all the time. Whether our elected leaders will be what they were in that same moment of truth is up to them. No matter what, we'll be here and we'll be ready.
My name's Eric Lee. I live at 4 Spring Lane. I'm a biology teacher, and I'm going to bring this to a different level. I'm going to bring this. It's hard to go after those people, and I agree entirely with what they said. We are losing people, but I'm going to speak about public and student safety and faculty safety. When I came to my classroom this year, I saw near the sinks a simple sign that said hand washing only. And it was just taped. It was a sticker that was put there. Now, what I'm about to say here is that I realize how important water is to all of our students, the bubblers and everything, and safe water that's there. I've asked multiple times about a schedule as when filters would be changed. It's never been provided. I've talked to the custodians. They tell me that that's being done as well. But this was troubling in the fact that I've continued to ask my principal and over again what the results were and why I had these signs that they're there. Some would say simply do not use. A biology classroom, figuring out why is it just hand washing as well. Multiple times we've asked the principal, what is this? And we found out that there is lead or higher levels of lead. And we've asked for the data to continue to be given to us. Meanwhile, the bubblers in that area are covered up with plastic at this point, and recently water was spewing out of them. When they took the plastic off, it was absolutely disgusting what was there. This is what our students and what our faculty is drinking, and we have not gotten any of the answers. Multiple times, about 5 or 6 emails, and the principal has tried to follow through, but never has there been the issue. So I think it needs to be put out to the public. I understand that there's letters that are going out there, but that there is a real concern whether this water is safe as well. And there are teachers who have been drinking that water there for years upon years. Several years back here, they changed several faucets out. And this is a situation that just indicates the lack of transparency. And why would there not be something that put up on that to say, do not drink or other things like this, but hand washing only and do not use and no explanation after that? This has gone on for months and it's about time that the public hears about it. Our safety is important and that of the students is safe. And if there's nothing that is of issue here, why can we not get the data? Thank you.
That concludes the oral communications. And I just want to, I know last meeting and then this meeting, the issue of the retired paraprofessionals pay has been brought up. And there is a legal document that was signed by Rachel Rex and Marianne Aiello. Also, a large group of people were on the negotiating committee. So we, as a school committee, need to follow the legal agreement that was signed by all of us. And I just want to point out that the clause in the return to work agreement is paragraph number 4. And it states retroactive pay that is effective July 1, 2023 for members of the GATE group that are still employed as of the date of the execution of this agreement will be paid no later than December 13, 2024. As a municipality, as people that are stewards of the city's money, we cannot do things contrary to a legal agreement. And that's the agreement that was signed by and reviewed by multiple people before it was all executed. So so I understand that people are emotional, that this is personal, but I also know that when you go through negotiations, it's a legal process and you end up with an agreement at the end that not everything gets in that either party wants, and other things get in that, you know, you may wish you had changed, you know, had phrased differently. So that is what this agreement was signed on November, you know, when we finished the strike. So we really don't have a mechanism to pay this because it was signed by the representatives of the union. Okay, recognitions. We have any recognitions? We've been out for a bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Just want to give a shout out to the high school and middle school students that were involved in the holiday concert. I don't think we've met since then, but it was a terrific show included the middle school band, the high school bands, and the high school chorus. And just a great show put on by a tremendous amount of students, and people that are involved in our music department really did a great job. It's a completely full house in the auditorium, probably the largest crowd I've seen in the high school auditorium in a long time. And it was great to see. So.
And we have a O'Malley one coming up this Friday, correct?
So I just got an invite to one.
It's at O'Malley for the 5th grade.
Yeah.
January 27th. I'll actually have a January 27th. Monday.
Okay, next item of business is consent agenda. Does anyone have any items they would like to read with?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as.
Okay, roll call vote, please, Stephanie, since Mayor Berga is online.
Ms. Texera Prince.
Yes.
Mr. McKee,
Yes.
Chairperson Clancy,
Yes.
Mr. Melvin,
Yes.
Mayor Verga,
Yes.
Mr. Minnie,
Yes.
Please roll.
Okay. Motion passes. Next item of business deliberation on education issues and superintendent.
So I'll give an update on a number of matters here, and then go right into the calendar for the upcoming years. And then also just a quick update on my evaluation process. So here are the. So as we say in the Gloucester schools, every day matters, and everybody belongs. So we aspire to and keep continuing to work forward. Just give a few updates here. So, Story Battle Night, Story Battle Awards and Impact Award tomorrow night here at the high school. You can see that in addition to the class of 2028 awardees, as long as yeah, that's great. Thank you. In addition to the class of 2028 awardees, we also have additions every year for the sophomore, junior, and senior class. And they and their families have been invited to the award night tomorrow night. Mr. McKean and Mayor Virgo will be speaking as well as yours truly. The Harlem Wizards are coming to town, so this is something that was started by the current junior class when they were sophomores a year ago. So we're gonna have the second visit of the Harlem Wizards upcoming on February 1st. So it's a great community event and great entertainment, as well as, and mostly the entertainment is watching the staff and faculty team lose badly to the Wizards. But the Wizards they're great. They're great entertainment, great show, and it's for a great cause to support the sophomore class. And also any tickets that are purchased through the elementary schools support their PTOs as well. So it was a full house last year, and we're expecting it again this year. So and part of that process is that Harlem Wizards will come and visit each of the elementary schools and talk to them about some inspirational messages, but also show them some tips and tricks on the basketball court as well. So looking forward to that. Here is the official announcement on Monday, January 27th of the elementary music, so the district-wide band. I've got two updates on the elementary music. First one is the district-wide band, and that concert is on January 27th. A few Mondays from now, and that's 6:30 at the O'Malley Auditorium. That's open to the public and free. Then another update, so you'll remember last year, we had a pilot program at the Beeman School for elementary chorus, just for Beeman students, and that was supported by the Gloucester Education Foundation. That was very successful. At that time, we also had, in addition to the music teacher at Beeman, also had some high school students who helped out. For intern, mentors, volunteers. We are expanding the elementary chorus pilot program to 4th and 5th graders from all elementary schools, similar to what the all elementary school band. Again, this is a result of Gloucester Education Foundation supporting the efforts. It's like it has in so many ways in arts programs. West Parish music teacher, Mr. Prestia Giovanni, will be the staff leader. Also working with another staff member. What's that? I know what it's an error. It's free to all elementary 4th and 5th graders who sign up. It begins January 15th, so next week. And also, just like last year, some high school students will be volunteers and mentors and work with the students. So at this point, performances are currently planned for April and June. Maybe that might adjust, depending on things go, but off to the next step of this pilot. Great forward movement. Also, Beeman Winter coming. These are families and friends of Beeman, not for the general public, but just want you to know that Beeman is also getting into the groove with their winter concerts. These were rescheduled for November, and they're all happening January 16th at the school during the school day. So good work on the music front. Just want to sort of shout out to not only the East Veterans PTO, but really the fraternity club, along with Gordon Seafood. In honor of Sal Parisi, in memory of Sal Parisi, I'll talk about in a moment. We raised $3,000 to donate to the PTO to support student programming, enrichment, and family events. Mr. Parisi was a well-respected young man who was a beloved member of the fraternity club. As you know, he's just a couple of doors up from East Veterans School. And he's someone who really cared a lot about our young people and the neighborhood around East Veterans. He died prematurely a few years ago, but he wanted, as part of his legacy, to provide a generous gift to the youth of Gloucester. So the members, his friends from the fraternity club organized this and spearheaded it and pulled in Gordon Seafood and then also connection with the PTO. And by doing that, able to provide support to the young folks at East Veterans School. So really appreciate the fraternity club recognizing Mr. Parisi and his legacy, but also supporting our students in our schools. So just really appreciative of that gift. East Veterans, that's more news about East Veterans. Congratulations to the 90 students who had perfect attendance for the first trimester of school. You can see them filling up the grand staircase there. A year ago, just in terms of making progress, there were 36 students who had perfect attendance through the first trimester. This year it's 90. So I really appreciate that. Well done for not only the students, but their families, of course, and also our teachers and school leadership to make sure that everyone, more and more kids are getting the message that every day matters. So really appreciate that. Another event coming up is the West Parish BMX bike event, which is a focus, something that happens on an annual event, but it's really focused on bike safety and also building positivity and resilience for students. So I'll get to enjoy that in the gym there on January 10th. And then as Jane said earlier about the DECA competition, so we always do quite well in this and have a lot of folks moving on to the state conference. And again, this year, you can see there 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like well more than 10, almost 15 kids who have done well enough to qualify for the state conference. There's a great picture of them in Danvers competing after competing, and you can see it's in all sort of business related themes and topics. So business solutions, financial operations, and innovation, and business planning, and marketing as well. So just really appreciate the leadership from the high school and the staff there and supporting our students to really do well and be well prepared for the DECA competitions, both the District 1 and now state. And as you know, we've had a number of students go on to the nationals as well. So that's we'll have same success this year. Great. So any questions about any of the updates there? Okay. Now I want to give a presentation on the collective bargaining agreements and update on next steps from the agreements as part of my report. So you'll through the negotiation process, came up with some really significant sort of next steps, and want to just highlight where we are, and then also check in with the committee about one in particular. So just to reiterate and try to reinforce the way we want to work, as we have been and actually going forward, a basic approach to leadership, our schools, input, decision making, and then also really our work. So really captured here, a collaborative, inclusive approach. We've taken in many, many ways at the state level, at the district level, and also that's as I described during our last meeting. There's evidence of that in the collective bargaining agreement as well, both the GTA one and the GATE one. And I'll sort of describe some of those as we go forward tonight. So that means that deepening our work, improving our practice, improving student learning, academic achievement really does take all of us, responsibility from everybody on all different roles working together. That includes soliciting, listening, for input from a wide range of people and roles. That's how we make our best decisions to get our best ideas. And then also includes opportunities for, across our schools, for shared decision making, shared responsibility, shared leadership as well. So these aren't things we're doing perfectly, but we do have quite a few opportunities for them, and we need to build them further. This needs to be the way we operate. It's the most effective way. It utilizes people's skills and experiences and perspectives to the greatest impact, and it helps all of us do our best work. We have a balanced approach to improvement. So you'll always see when we're talking about improving, we're identifying what we're doing well and also what we need to get better at. And part of that is being open and transparent, both about our successes, but also our area of challenge. And I'll point out a couple areas where you'll see that as evidence in terms of our next steps around the agreements that were made in the collective bargaining agreement. And then clarity, support, and being accountable. So this really helps people do their best work. So clearly defining roles and responsibilities in effective practice. That can be on a team, that can be in a grade, that can be in a subject area, that can be for a teacher or a paraprofessional or a principal. But we need to continue to clearly define those roles so people know what they're expected to do, but they at the same time, they're supported to do it well. And that might be in through training, professional development, that might be in feedback or coaching, that might be in supporting, working with colleagues, but really that support is on many levels, but if you have clarity in what you're expected to do, and support on how to do well, then you should be able to meet professional responsibilities. And then the last piece is support and accountability if someone isn't getting their expectations completed. And that's also part of making sure that people are able to do things well, and can work well with each other to do things well, and also fulfilling their responsibility. So that's a combination. You'll see some evidence of that in the work I'm about to talk about, but it's sort of I would say, the way we're trying to work and a more sort of clear communication about that. So in terms of the follow-up work from the collective bargaining agreement, I'm gonna go through this quickly, but then just dig into one of them more deeply. That one I'm going to dig in more deeply in a moment is the joint working group on student learning and achievement. So the posting for that, so I'm sort of giving you here as presenting it in your packet, sort of some of the actions that are being taken on these things right now, and also time frame about when they'll be sort of either start or launch or sort of get rolling basically. So I'll talk about the working group on student learning and achievement in a moment. I'll go on to the other ones right now. But another really important piece that was reached through the negotiations with GTA and GAPE was the district-based and school-based behavior support teams. So this is sort of the results of the work and concerns around student behavior in our schools, and supporting students to do their best and making sure we continue to have safe learning environments, but also really supportive ones as well. So that's about, just as a reminder, the school-based teams will have specific roles and responsibilities around identifying good practices on support and building school cultures, school and classroom cultures, and also supporting students and clarifying roles for folks when students need additional support on behavior or other reasons. And the district version of that as well. Some of the schools have a version of this already in place, but we're going to clarify and sort of create a description and work with principals on what that will be and who should be involved in that. And then we'll also be creating a sort of a clear description of what that work will be at the district level as well, and then posting for that, looking for folks to join those two teams basically. Moving on, and you're welcome to stop me in a moment. Teacher evaluation and joint planning team update the evaluation priority standards. So this is the team that was agreed upon in negotiations.
You moved on.
I moved on.
Okay, I have a question.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I wasn't clear about that. Clear in my mind.
With the posting, how does it work for people that put their name in the hat to be part of the these two groups?
Yeah, so it depends.
In terms of,
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. So on many of these teams, not all of them, many of them, if they're happening outside work hours, members are compensated at their contractual hourly rate, depending on their role. Administrators are not. This is really specifically for GAPE and GTA members for the most part. That's really what we're talking about mostly in terms of staff roles here. In terms of the selection of those, it probably depends on the specific team or working group in terms of the process who's involved in that. That's sort of, and also how many people are looking for and what roles and stuff. But that's when I talk about clarifying or defining the description for that team or that work. That's part of what goes into that, is figuring out exactly. We'll actually look at that in a little more depth in terms of the working group on student learning. Yeah, there's also, and also it can change with different teams, and we'll describe the joint working group in detail to give you an example of how some folks are paying additional, some people are not. So we'll get to that when we talk about all of that.
and the size of the teams have yet to be, I mean, there's a framework, but it's not necessarily a number that we came up to in the agreement.
Yeah, right. The teams did not, the negotiating teams did not create that level of detail. No, that's what we're working through and drafting those right now, and we'll continue to hone those prior to post. So moving on to the last one here is on this page is the work that we'll do with GTA members on updating the priority standards in our contract on evaluation. And we're doing that because DESE has rolled out a new teacher evaluation rubric. We want to make sure our priority standards are up to date with that and aligned with that teacher evaluation rubric, you'll see that, there'll be 4 administrators and 4 GTA members that either could apply or be named at GTA. That's really up to the GTA who participates in that. Moving on, a few other ones. So GATE, we negotiated and agreed upon having a professional development advisory team. So that is a group of GATE members who are looking at and advising our team on and helping us understand what type of professional development and learning and what topics that they would like to focus on for next year. Okay, we have to work with GATE to sort of define the size of that team and how it operates, and GATE will name the members to that. And they'll work and they will advise a number of people including as well. As we look forward to next year or look forward next year in terms of defining what we're going to focus on. De-escalation training for ESPs, that's also defined in or sort of formalized in the contract. That's something we started in school year 22-23, but it didn't systematize yet in a way that we're really tracking who has had it and who hasn't, very specifically. So we'll be fully implementing that in 25-26. The Summer Professional Development Day for ESPs for folks who are in special education district programs. That obviously will launch in summer 2025, but it's going to be based on input from the GATE Professional Development Advisory Team. That's listed above there. And then plan for 1 hour ESP time after school. So 1 hour per month. ESPs are now responsible for having participating in meeting or training at the school level. Part of that is in the contract is that they're made aware of when those will happen when by the end of the school year. I think it's school year prior. I think it is. Obviously, that will happen for next year because we're just defining the school calendar for next year at this point. A few more here because there was a lot of really important sort of next steps created through the contracts. Union orientation for new hires during the school year. That's happening periodically based on our new hires, and we'll work with GTA and GATE leadership on scheduling that. The scheduling of that is part of the language in the contract. TBD. There are a number of administrative changes related to leave requests, sick day accrual. And these are things that aren't obvious to sort of sort through the memorandum of agreement. So our human resource department is working on sort of one sort of clear steps on leave requests, but also sort of clear sort of FAQ type thing on the changes that were made from negotiations. That'll be available in February. The joint committee agreed to on stipended positions, so that's to update and make current all the stipended positions that are sort of documented and listed in the GTA contract. We have to work with GTA leadership to form that committee. I expect that to be happening sort of winter and spring 2025. And then the last piece here, which we'll talk more about tonight, which is the 183rd workday that's now required just prior to the opening of school every fall. And we have to update the 25-26 calendar to reflect that. We'll talk about that tonight, but then plan for and schedule in upcoming school years as well. So that's just to give you an update on sort of a high level update on the areas we are moving on. We need to move on and give you a sense of the time frame there. The one area or one group really wanted to engage the committee on tonight and give you a more complete update is the working group on improving academic achievement and deepening student learning. So you may remember from December when I reported, this is a very important group, and it's a group that's going to include teachers and professionals and administrators and school committee members and community members as well. It'll include building level representatives from the union, from GTA, as well as their GATE and GTA presidents. And the purpose of this group, as we define negotiations, is to take some real joint responsibility on understanding how we are doing, where we're making progress, and where we have progress to make, and then be responsible for identifying through that analysis of the local forms of student learning. At least one academic challenge for each grade span, I should say. And then also reporting out to the committee and the public, and therefore the public, on what they've learned, how we're doing, and how we need to improve or what we need to improve and focus on 3 times a year. So that's the basic concept of the group. Can take a fair bit of working through the launch of that. At least one member from the following roles, and you can see them listed there, and I've sort of describe, explained them already or named them already. The challenge here is you typically will want more than one person in the number of some of these roles and make multiple people in these roles. So one of the challenges is how do you keep it a manageable size so it can be productive and the work can be well done. Some folks say you want to limit the number of a team to 2 pizzas worth. How many the number of people who can eat 2 pizzas, okay? This will need more pizzas, this group, okay? But want to talk through with you and get the school committee's input a little bit tonight on just that question itself in terms of numbers of folks and how to organize them. We'll get to that question in a moment. Actually, we'll get to the question right now. We describe a couple more things, which is just in terms of the pay. You asked earlier about the stipends and pay for this work. This is in some ways a unique working group or team because it has a wide range of members. So administrators aren't paid, it's part of their professional, their work. They're not paid for this sort of team. If by our agreement with the GTA and GATE, the GTA building representatives and the GTA president and GATE president will not get paid additional. They're paid as part of their union leadership roles. But the teachers and ESPs and paraprofessionals who participate would get paid their contracted hourly rate. So teachers would get the $37.50 per hour, and that's been negotiated, I think, 2 contracts ago. And paraprofessionals would earn whatever rate they're currently earning as hourly wage. And that's on top of, that's assuming that this is happening outside of the school day. You can't very much will. But that sort of thing is, so that's how we compensate folks. And those are pretty typical for work that's happening outside the school day. That's additional pay for folks who will work outside of the school day. Just answer that question specific for this one. So some questions that we'd like to sort of pose to you to see if you have any input on is just a member question. Any ways or thoughts about how to limit this or how to focus or how to structure it? An example there is do we divide the group into pre-K to 5 and 6 through 12? Suggestions and conversation here about how to recruit and name community members. Okay, love to get any input from the committee on that. Another good question that you're welcome to chime in on is external or internal facilitation. Or do we do our administrators and some folks on the committee actually lead the facilitation, or do we have external facilitation? Or is there some combination of that sort of thing? How often should the group meet? And then there's also a question that the group will work on about decision making and how does a group of that size make decisions? So these are questions we're working through and thinking about, and happy to take any thoughts or comments from the committee on any or maybe not all of these, but at least any of them.
Yeah, no, we're looking for we're looking for one thing to work on from each school level, correct? Elementary, middle, high.
Yep.
Does it make sense to have 3 separate groups? Just looking at the list of people that are gonna be involved, it's gonna be a huge group. I think my guess, so that's might be a little bit difficult to manage, but I think if we break it down into 3, that'll certainly help. And I think my other question is, are there outside entities that can come in? You talked about, maybe having an outside service come in and kind of facilitate it. Are there outfits like that out there that can come in and do that?
Yeah, there's any number of facilitators, consultants or stuff who can help facilitate the process. We of course want them to, that'd be school based and, really obviously, but then the crucial piece is there in helping groups, school groups and school teams, analyze, understand data, and then really, work through it in a timely manner and support the team in making decisions on, what to focus on really, this group isn't responsible for like deciding what exactly to do, but to raise up areas that we're doing well on and and identify areas that we need to really focus on. But then the school-based teams and district, we work together to actually, what's the action to take. But yeah, so definitely we'll be able to identify an external person who can support that. And I think there are advantages and disadvantages of both, yeah. Other thoughts on that?
Mayor has his hand raised.
Oh, yeah, Mayor.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, counting the list, it's a baker's dozen, 13 people. I've made a concerted effort of reducing the number of members of boards and commissions because I don't think you can have a quorum issue because I don't think it's really that kind of a committee. But as I say, about too many cooks. It's a lot of people to wrangle at just 13. When you're talking about at least one member, you're talking at least 13 people. So I wouldn't stray too far from that. It just becomes unruly, and I think everybody's got they're ahead in the game and they want to achieve something, but when you just have a lot of people, it's difficult to just to manage it and achieve something at the end of each meeting. That is all.
More people on the slide before.
Yeah.
I have a thought on separating the groups by level though. I think eventually that is helpful, but I think to start, people need to understand what the approaches are at different levels. And I know we've talked a lot at some of our, we're talking about academics and we're talking about how students transition from elementary to middle to high. What does that look like? And, we hear feedback of teachers at one level saying for getting students that are really ready or whatever. I think having those conversations about how do certain levels, and I think we know best a lot of what the elementary has done because we've had the, implementation of different curriculum, we hear about it, they present about it. But I'm not sure if people in middle and high know necessarily what been presented to us, or if they have enough opportunities to think vertically, so that they can understand and just learn from each other what they are doing to know where we're at. It's a baseline. So I think having a couple meetings where everybody shares ideas and shares information would be helpful as a group, particularly for having community members who probably know their children's experience, but may not know what the next level brings and how that is assessed.
Thank you.
I just have questions because I'm looking at this and it's like, I don't have a good understanding of it because I wasn't in the conversations and negotiations when this came about. So it seems to me there needs to be more information about what the charge is exactly and what the expectations are before you even involve the community and people outside of the school. Right? I think you need to go into it really organized, not structured in a way that you can be flexible, but it just seems to me there's a lot of work to be done before you can put this team together. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Actually, you can see in your packet is sort of the draft, it's a draft very clearly on it, of the posting, soliciting members essentially, or, asking for members.
And you're asking for members of the community already?
No,
Okay.
just
inside.
draft,
Okay.
okay, and welcome to get your input, that sort of stuff, and the committee's input on it, and that's why it's in your packet. But in that, you'll see more of the thinking that's a key place to be clear on what the charge of the team is, the group is, and what the effective work is, okay? So it's sort of laid out in that. And because in order to get, I agree with you that in order to get people to sort of, to sign up, say, or become members of the group, they've got to be clear both on what the work is, what the goals are, and what the expectations will be. So you can see that in your packet there, just a draft of, and that's sort of our current thinking on trying to communicate it clearly.
I just don't see us ready for that already. I just feel like there's more conversation that needs to be had looking at this. But
So when you say we, I'm trying to
I mean,
understand.
we, the administration in the district.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand administration get involved. with GTA and the Paris to get the information. It's just not clear to me. But like I said, maybe it's because I wasn't part of the conversation where this came from.
Well, yeah, so,
I mean,
yeah,
just calling that we want to improve academic achievement, okay, that's a topic this big. So where is this group reporting to? What is the goal?
so, right, so,
You have a school committee member involved, I understand that, I don't know who it's gonna be or how that's gonna come about, but like, what is the purpose of this group? Other than getting ideas?
the purpose of the group is to really be a public, I don't say public body, it sounds too formal, like, but to be a public body who's a diverse group representing multiple roles.
Which I
Okay.
support 100%.
Yeah, okay, who is, who's looking closely at our student achievement data, and that's, and they'll define they'll decide on themselves what you want to look at based on some recommendations, okay? And from there, being really a primary group that's reporting to the public about how we're doing. So there's more voices involved in that analysis, there are more voices involved in responsibility for that public reporting. And then more voices involved or more roles, perspectives involved in what to address. And that's really, like I said before, that's a collaborative approach, it's inclusive, but it also develops more shared responsibility among who's really reporting and taking responsibility, being accountable for the progress we need to make, and also our successes too.
So is this gonna be a group that comes out and tells us that we're understaffed and we need more tier 2 intervention and people leaving the district and there's not enough people here and that's part of the problem? Or is it a different focus? That's where I think I'm getting caught up in, because I hear what's happening here tonight with public comment, and then I'm hearing this, I'm like, okay, is this to address that? Or is this to actually talk about student achievement and getting into the data as opposed to why we're not where?
I don't want to be able to speak because this was, and so, you are behind
That's why
the genesis of it as well. So, but what I would say is, no, it's not a group to tell us what to do. Okay, that's the leadership working in collaboration with our staff, okay? This is about reporting about how we're doing, and then identifying areas we should pay attention to. I think it's more about
Within
that.
the data.
Yeah, more identification, analysis
Okay.
and identification, rather than therefore these are the answers.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think this, I think that takes a lot more work at the school level, with support from the district, with the staff there, as opposed to a group that may be meeting once a month. So I think that,
Yeah, and I don't wanna close it out. Sorry. Amy, you got something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's also a group, I mean, it is a large group and I'm nervous about having a group that large, right? And we need to be very thoughtful of how we organize it and manage the group, absolutely. But it's important, it's large on purpose because we want more stakeholders involved in diving into our data. Schools do it individually at their school, some departments do it, all different ways it's done. But to have a clear way of how we look at data and what data we look at in Gloucester Public Schools it's kind of along the idea of what we're gonna do. When we dive into the data, what we decide to look at, whether it be at literacy, we're not gonna be able to do, academic achievement is everything, right? So
What I'm saying, the top
right.
is this big, how.
So the group will have to choose a narrower focus in order to make some improvements. And whether they focus on literacy or math or science or whatever the group ends up deciding, we will collectively decide on what data we're looking at and dive in deep. But the power of it, if we can do it right, and as a large group, then it's gonna be a challenge to do that, but if we do it right, the power of that is we have a common understanding among all of those people, that very large group, of what achievement looks like and sounds like and feels like in Gloucester Public Schools, how we measure it, and then all of those people go back to their respective stakeholders or where they're representing, and their message, all of the message should be the same, that we, as a group, have decided that we are going to focus on X to really hone in as a district. I mean, we're gonna do other things too, but that group is gonna hone in on whatever the data points them to, and the data will show us where to go. And we all need to go back and message that to our schools, our departments, our, whatever representative you are, and to support the district in moving forward in that area. And so it will be messaging, it'll be, deciding what is the key focus. It could be very powerful if it's done right. It could be very, to have, if you look at that list, everybody marching in the same direction and saying, we need to improve on this, whatever they decide it is, right? It's not to come up with a laundry list of things that are wrong, because that's not productive, right?
That's what I was trying to
Like
get
we all can come up with laundry lists. I can come up with them, everybody can.
Right.
But to narrow in on one thing that we're gonna work on and focus as a district and have a common message, and we're all gonna go in that direction. That's the idea behind it. Is it gonna be easy with a group of minimum 13, probably more? No. And that's why we're talking about the possibility of maybe an outside consultant to start us off. I mean, I certainly feel comfortable leading people looking at data, but it might be more powerful if we all learn this method together, to have somebody come in and help hone us in on doing that, and to set us off on a nice path, so we do it the right way. So that's what we're asking, like, these questions are important, because it's a big committee that could be wonderful and powerful. But if we don't do it right, it's not gonna be, so.
No, I agree. The work needs to be done, there's no doubt. I was just trying to rein it in to find out what the actual project was. So how will, I'm expecting at some point over the next, within the school year, I hope, but maybe not till the next, that new graduation standards are gonna be coming forward. Now that we don't have MCAS as a requirement, because government's talking about creating the new standards and possibly even tests.
Right, so they'll have to.
So is that something this group would be in conversation with? Because at some point, the school committee has to agree on what those requirements
Right.
are.
I don't think
Or do
this
they have
group
nothing to do
would
with
not
each
do that,
other?
because there's a sense of urgency for the competency determination for the class of 25,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And if we're gonna do this group well, we need to take it slow. And we might not be able to make recommendations by the spring. If we were up and running as a functioning body and really looking at data and maybe making some sort of goals for next year, I would feel that's a success. As far as making recommendations out that fast with that big of a group that's brand new. I'd be leery to say that. Just today, I was working with Principal Cook, and he's worked with his guidance department, and we've talked to other districts about competency determination, and we are close to being ready to present something to the school committee on that. And we'll be on that. So that will be coming.
So let me just clarify, folks.
But
may
those
not
are
be following,
separate.
okay? Is what Melissa brought up was with MCAS graduation requirement going away, State Department of Education has informed districts that we will need a district-based, local competency determination. Okay, first and foremost is creating that for class of 2025. Okay, and that's the work at the high school, and Amy is supporting the high school leadership on developing that right now. Okay, that's an urgency because of timing.
Right.
But there's a longer work for that on the long term as well. That'll be coming to the school committee when we're ready to present you. After some more work has been done. That's separate from this work we've done.
Okay.
Nothing to do.
Thank you.
And I do want to just point out, I'm sorry, no, go ahead, but the last thing is that, like, work brings to you as it's being developed. So I hope folks get that the presentation here isn't about something that's fully baked. Okay, no, I hope that's obvious, but that's intent. Because if this is something that's gonna be reporting to you, we need your input on it, and we'll continue to shape it. Of course, I've got to work with GTA and DAPE on it as well, as we launch it, before we launch it. But it was just so often, students will come to a school committee and only give you the fully baked stuff. This is the process. We want to keep you up to date on the progress made on many of these areas, because they're new and they're important, and none more so than this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I don't want to rule out the well, kind of putting the cart before the horse, that, it doesn't mean that there are a lot of smart people in these groups, and it doesn't mean that there can't be solutions born out of this group or potential solutions born out of this group, you know, I think that's the right word. You know, it's obvious, listening to people here tonight and listening to the last few school committee meetings, but there's a disconnect there. At a minimum, getting together, trying to work through some stuff, being able to hear each other out, gives us at least a chance to come up with, to move in a positive direction and see if we can come up with some solutions. I think that was the idea behind it, and it's, like Ben said, it's gotta be a work in progress. It's, you know, nothing's really completely set in stone. But I think at a minimum, it gives us a chance to meet collaboratively and kind of say, okay, here are the issues, what can we do? And maybe out of that, some of those, taking everything into consideration, there can be some solutions born out of that. It's kind of my thinking on it.
So, can I just follow up on what you said? So I mean, that's what I expected out of this group, but when you're asking us for suggestions, it just seems to me that there needs to be more brainstorming with school personnel, meaning paraprofessionals, the teachers and support staff and all that, before we announce to the world that we're taking on community members and things like that. It just seems to me there needs to be more development of what this is before we bring in people outside the school.
We'll get input from a variety of folks and then tonight's.
I think that just helps.
Yeah, and tonight's getting input from all of you.
Sure.
And then just the original thinking that it would be one group, just because if we split the groups, you know, pre-K to 5, 6 and 12, we're gonna miss some people, you know, one group for the other. So that's a possibility, 2 groups, or would it be, you know, for the special education director, would obviously want to be residing in both groups, so so there's overlap there. And then also, are we thinking, you know, I see the building representatives are the teachers that would be added to the non-building rep teacher and paras. But just one I don't know, I saw one teacher and I thought, okay, you need more teachers and paras on the committee, the working group. So I guess I'm just
You know, you're touching on some of the
asking
complexity,
spaghetti questions.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
you're touching on some of the complexity, and the
right,
balance around, well, of course, we're on numerous or multiple teachers on this, and we, of course, we're on multiple teachers and paraprofessionals, you know, that span the grade, you know, the grade
Right.
spans, right? And then you start getting into larger and larger, right?
more
So-
pizza,
Right, more fine, you know, but
some salads.
right, salads too, but that's part of the balance has to wait, right?
Right.
So you're really digging into that complexity there, because there's a, well, that's what we have to sort through.
Yeah.
So that, and the other piece on the dividing them up, you know, I think where Kathy was heading makes a lot of sense. I heard you on that about, like, you know, there's some work together and maybe some work where you're splitting, you know, and because there is real value in learning from and hearing from folks at the different grade span, across grade spans, just like there's real value in learning across groups as well. So.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to follow on, having an outside facilitator, I think would be really important to help kind of answer some of those questions of how many people are we having the right perspectives, you know, do we have enough of the perspectives in the room? At what point is it, you know, enough, or you have gaps? It would be good to have somebody objective, new to our district, observing from, you know, from their perspective as well. But this was born out of the fact that, you know, our results just aren't where they need to be. And I think we all acknowledge that our students should be learning at higher levels. And there's urgency around that. We have invested a lot in curriculum, we've invested a lot in professional development, and we really need to start seeing some, you know, some effective growth at a quicker rate, because a lot of students just aren't achieving at the level they should. It's time to achieve.
Just to wrap this part up, I'm gonna keep just to sort of circle back here. Is just to circle back to the first note of this. And just to think of the word in the room, that keep it in mind is collaborative inclusive approach. this is a very good example of that. Can be, you know, the intention is to make a very good example of that. A balanced approach to improvement. The group will identify what's going well, but also where we have some more challenges. And then clearly defining role, we talk about that tonight, like what's the role of this group? What's its responsibilities? What's effective, what's doing this effectively in this group, okay? And then how do we support the group, whether it's outside facilitator or other, you know, to do their work well. So just want to use that as an example for what we're talking about in terms of this basic approach. So that's where we are on some of the real important pieces that were negotiated between the teams. Collective bargaining agreements, and just want to make sure you folks were sort of aware about the progress we're making and also time frame.
So, I didn't get to chime in on that at all, but, you know, I share concern about large groups, you know, a lot of crosstalk, but maybe this should start with a core group, administrators, representing each building. And, you know, as far as keeping the numbers down, I don't understand how these individual stakeholder members, representatives were decided upon, but GTA and the gate president and union building reps. I don't understand why that is important. What was that part of the negotiations?
In the negotiations, it was,
Because already that's like how many building representatives plus two presidents?
it's not necessarily all building reps, it says one from each, yeah. But I think it was to show a joint effort and a common urgency on looking at student achievement and deepening student achievement. And that was a way during negotiations that the GTA leadership and GATE leadership joined with us to make the common statement of the importance of student achievement. And then being on that is showing that.
Sure,
So that was
I'm
part of
not
that.
objecting to that,
Right.
but I think that could happen organically, seeing as you'll want, you know, teachers involved in these groups.
Yeah, it could,
Yeah.
this is how it came out from negotiations, is that's what it was defined.
Also say that this isn't very common. I mean that in a good way. You know, as folks look at our agreements and sort of stuff, this is one thing that stands out to them as being like, it's sort of like, tell me more about that. What are you trying to do? And that's what and that's because it's a, you know, it's a diverse group. There are many represent many different roles, including community members. So again, work in progress. You know, it's complicated, but it has some real potential. And it's a really good example, as I showed, of I think the way we want to work.
Yeah, I don't know
how to work, but we do work and the way we want to.
Yeah, I don't know how this is gonna be decided, what the group's gonna be and all that going forward, but I just wanted to recommend starting small and then maybe add members as you go along, as you identify problems.
Yeah, that's helpful. It really is. Yep. And maybe the core group is helping them to shape it and form it, and then we expand. Yeah.
And then the other thought was, of course, seems like there are academic bottlenecks at the transitions from elementary to middle school and also middle school to high school, so that being a special concern as well, or focus.
Okay, thank you, folks. Just moving on to some of the next pieces here. Oh, I think it's always important, folks, and essential, which is the school calendars. So you have a packet, but also hand out 2 paper copies of the calendar. Second here, I can share this so everyone can see it. So we have revised revisions for 25-26 calendar. So what many folks may know or may forget is that we are now building calendars 2 years ahead. So it used to be about this time of year, every year, we look at next year. Okay, but now we're having 2 years ahead, and that gives people a chance to do some planning. And we also learned that sometimes we have to make some slight changes in the upcoming year because different circumstances. The primary day may change, or in this case, a change regarding through negotiations is going to change. So so there's only one revision that impacts for the 25-26 calendar from a year ago. And it actually does impact the first day and last day of school for students. Just as for context for yourself, but also the members watching, the folks watching, the 3 school staff days that happen out when school is not in session. And the third, through negotiations, the third was more clearly defined in terms of where and when it happens. And that day will now happen just prior to school starting. So we'll now have 2 staff work days. I'm just calling that this sort of generic term prior to school starting, immediately prior to school starting, at the school buildings. And then we have the third one of those 3 has been the professional development day on November election day. Okay. What that means is we've had to adjust the start of school slightly, and the first day of school for 2025 goes from Wednesday, September 3rd, to Thursday, September 4th. Of course, if we do that, we have to look at the end of the year, and that we changed that last day from June 17th to June 18th, just one day, obviously. So, so that's the change for 25-26, which you should consider and discuss, and then vote on.
I'll make a motion that we change the calendar to reflect the 2025-26 school year to start September 4th
For students.
for students and July, June 18th. Sorry, June 18th, 2026.
Second.
I just put a motion out to discuss.
Oh.
Any discussion? This is what it is, doesn't have to be. That's okay.
What day is June 18th on?
That's Thursday,
What's the 13th on that year?
the 13th of what?
June.
7.
19th.
19th is Friday.
19th is
June
Friday.
19th
That's
is
the
the-
holiday. I
yeah.
keep thinking it's the 13th.
Yeah, so that of course means that if we do have a snow day that year, that we would go to the following week,
June 21st.
22nd would be Monday, yeah. So that's 20, and then 26, 27, this is draft, okay?
We have a motion on the table.
Oh, sorry.
Are you ready to vote? Yes,
Can I just speak real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
No, I just had to step out the.
We just did a calendar.
It's a calendar.
What are you voting
We're voting on.
on?
25-26.
Yeah.
We're changing the first day of school, September 3rd.
Where else can you have?
It's changed to September 4th, and then the last day of school will be June 18th instead of June 7th. 25-26, yeah. There's a motion on the table, it's been seconded, so.
Need to know anything else, okay. Roll call vote?
Ms. Texera Prince.
Yes.
Mr. McKean.
Yes.
Chairperson Clancy.
Yes.
Mr. Melvin.
Yes.
Mayor Verga.
Yes.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes. Next then going forward is draft the 26-27 school calendar. We still need to run this by to share with the GTA. We intend to today as a draft, but that meeting had to be canceled. And so, but let's give you some highlights here. And you have it in your packet, you have it, all printed out. It's not in your packet?
No, we're good listeners. Yeah, well, listen.
Okay, and you might want to follow along too. There are copies, copy printed, right?
No, we don't have it.
No.
Yeah, the draft is better.
Hold on. Because they're right here. Sorry.
You take me past it.
Going old school.
There you go.
About that, folks, I thought I would have to give it to you. So the highlights are also up on the screen here. So the first day for teachers, ESP's on based staff is August 31st. So this is one of the years, because of when Labor Day is that we would start school before Labor Day. Because Labor Day is on the 7th of November. I'm sorry, September. And I'm taking it right. So the first day for school-based staff is August 31st. August 31st and September 1st are school-based staff work days. And the third day of school for grades grades 1 through 12, September 2nd. Last day for first day for students in pre-K and K is September 9th. As you know, we do screening for for kindergarten students typically in the interim. And they have some, some orientation activities for partial days, sort of stuff. So that's the first full day really. The last day for students will be June 16th, 2027. December break goes from a half day on December 23rd, and students return on January 2nd. Typical length. Short-ish. February break is the 16th and 19th, 2027. April break is the 20th to 23rd, 2027. And then the election days, we now, as you know, take off in the election days. The state primary, like it was this year, this last fall, actually happens on one of the staff work days. Okay, which and those students are in the building.
I think you have the day we return for a break, correct? It's
the
back
days are,
fourth, January fourth.
It'll be the 4th. Glad you caught it.
December 31st, Wednesday, January 1st, Thursday, so.
It's right on the calendar, isn't it?
Right, guys, wrong on this.
Yeah, it's wrong on
No, the
this.
presentation.
Oh, I missed it.
No, on the
Wait, doesn't
presentation.
it go back?
But he said on the calendar.
He's-
It says you're going back.
Print out.
Oh, and that.
Yeah, we
On January fourth.
Yes, yeah, this is incorrect on the presentation.
Yeah.
It is said no.
Yeah, so it's wrong on the front.
January fourth is when you return.
Yep.
Let's see. Yep, since the state primary is Tuesday the 1st, non-student school days, that works out fine. And then the state general election is on November 3rd. So there's professional development day for all staff, as it always is. And the calendar's correct, the presentation is wrong. More important, the calendar's correct, but I'm sorry about the typo. This will be voted on 2 weeks from now. And we incorporate any changes that you might notice now, or you might notice in the interim, or that we may discover running by few other folks.
I have a question on this year's calendar, and you may not be able to answer it, but Mayor Verga may be able to chime in.
Yep.
As I believe we're gonna have a special election of some sort for the housing issue. So is that gonna be a surprise day off we have to plan for?
There's no way to add another tough day off at this point. So we're gonna have, like we've done for decades upon decades, the election day. I mean, I don't see, I'm going to consider something, but I don't see with the way our calendar is right now.
No, I understand the calendar, I'm just wanna address the concern
Yeah.
as opposed to a week before it happens now, that's all. Or not tonight, but
Yeah.
sooner than later.
I don't believe, Mayor, that date has not been set, has it?
The city council is meeting next Tuesday. The date that they're kicking around is April 24th, a Thursday, which is during April vacation.
Okay.
So obviously the full council hasn't taken it up. They haven't voted, but I would say there's a 99% chance that will be voted yes next time they meet.
Of all the days they could pick, that would be our first choice. Boom.
Well, originally they were thinking about a Saturday, which would have a lot of overtime costs. So the next choice was during the vacation week, and the Thursday we have staff that work late anyway. So it's this election is going to, not to get political, the election is going to cost us about $30,000+. So we're trying to minimize the cost as much as we can. It's a council function though, but I support what Council President Gross presented to me.
And he consulted with me just about our dates, prior, just earlier on in the process, so. Yeah.
Just the 29, 30, 31. It threw me off because I thought, wait, why is January a day behind? But then I realized it was starting December 30th.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. That was from 29 to 31. Good catch.
Thank you.
And then the last piece for tonight is this my evaluation process. So this is the new time frame. January 20th, so in a little while, I'll provide you goals, reflection and evaluation rubric to the school committee. And then you'll see the dates. School committee members will have until the 31st to complete your individually complete the evaluation rubric. And then January 31st, you submit your evaluations to the school committee chair, Ms. Clancy. You'll have a couple weeks to summarize those and do the written report. And then February 26th, the second meeting in February will be when my evaluation happens at school. Okay. That's all for
Next item of business is the subcommittee reports. We have one building and finance subcommittee meeting on December 18th, 2024. Chairperson was there.
So I will give my brief update because I don't have an notes from that meeting. One important item on the agenda was the budget calendar. Believe it or not, and it's time to develop next year's budget. It did get pushed back a little bit this year. It's a little, in other words, it's a little bit later than it started last year. But we discussed the superintendent and CFO will present to the district leadership team, and in December, did that happen?
Oh yeah, we're working with them.
You're working on it? Okay. We haven't had that next meeting to follow up on that yet. Superintendent CFO will hold budget meetings in January, so those will be coming soon. District leaders will present their priorities to the BNF subcommittee in February, next month. And discuss different topics to develop. The superintendent will present the budget update to the school committee on March 12th. BNF subcommittee will review the budget books on April 16th, 2025. The school committee will vote on a public hearing on April 30th. We'll release our draft to the newspaper for publication on May 1st. The school committee public hearing that we will hold is currently scheduled for May 14th. The school committee vote and submission to the mayor and the city council will happen on May 28th. The presentation of the fiscal year 26 draft budget to the city BNF will be held in June, along with the city council's final vote on the budget, and then we are scheduled to vote our final budget on June 2025. So we didn't vote this. I thought we had voted in the past, but we decided not to vote it and just put this information out because if it changes, we wouldn't have to come back to have a vote. But it sounds like we're on schedule already with this happening. We'll receive an update next week at our BNF meeting. So.
Right, the easy part.
I just can't believe we're talking budget already.
Oh.
I haven't got past that yet.
Sure.
At our meeting, we did the usual, where we talked about the special education tuition and transportation out of school district update. We did have our special education director, Mike Davis, join us, and I believe he's going to join us in February at a school committee meeting, so I'm not gonna, he didn't give us a report or anything like that. That will be held at our full school committee meeting, but he was there to answer some questions and tell us about some changes that are being made to assist with the education, tuition and transportation budget, which seems to be making good progress in that department. We did have a couple budget transfers that we had on the agenda, the consent agenda that we already voted. And pretty much budget seems to be, I'm not gonna say looking good, but we're not in a bad position like we were last year at this time. But as you know, the topic of special education changes so fluently that that could change. But so far, we are able to manage the budget that we were presented, although I thought we were below budget on one of the
We were.
circuit breaker balance. Circuit breaker balance. They is that we got the $100,000 decrease from the audit?
That plus typically our circuit breaker balance is $1 million
Yeah.
at this time of year. And our balance is 466,000. So
So we're low,
yeah, we're low on that.
not under budget.
Under budget.
Yeah.
We have less available than.
Less
Available funds.
Well, I was a little bit confused because we had a little bit more available in the spending where we didn't hire positions that we thought we were going to.
Right.
But so that account, those accounts were a little bit over, not over budget. But ultimately, we are not where we usually are to feel comfortable with the circuit breaker balance. Fingers crossed that we can hold on our own until the end of the year. But those conversations will reoccur and decisions will have to be made if it continues in that direction. Do we know if the special education fund on the city side hasn't been developed yet, right? Because of free cash hasn't been certified?
Correct. But it's being planned for.
January.
Yeah, they're gonna have the free cash completed. And then when that is certified by the state, then they can set up the special ed stabilization fund.
Right, as you know, our budget was cut approximately $2 million this year. So we do have that to rely on if and when necessary. So we just, as we do every meeting, we'll keep our eyes on the topic and watch closely and inform the committee as we progress through the second half of the year. That's the end of our budget.
Thank you. Okay, next item of business is action. And we, for the only action we have, acceptance of grants. So I move that we accept the Gloucester Education Foundation district-wide elementary course grant in the amount of $4,100.33.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Texera Prince.
Yes.
Mr. McKee.
Yes.
Chairperson Clancy.
Yes.
Mr. Melvin.
Yes.
Mayor Verga.
Yes.
Mr. Minio.
Yes.
I think I'd like to read the next three together. Okay. I move that we accept the Gloucester Education Foundation O'Malley Academy grant in the amount of $31,200. And also the Gloucester Education Foundation Music Technology Upgrades grant in the amount of $11,285.57. And the Gloucester Education Foundation Romeo and Juliet Workshops with Lane's Coven grant in the amount of $5,795.11. And I so move.
Second.
Okay,
Yes, sorry.
any discussion?
Yeah, the Lanes Cove Covenant grant, that's, you know about that workshop?
So, 8th grade is studying Romeo and Juliet. They also study it in 9th grade too. This is starting to build a nice vertical alignment connection from 8th grade to 9th grade. But this year, GEF is sponsoring the 8th graders to go to Lane's Cove and see Romeo and Juliet and learn more.
Oh, okay, so they have a production going.
Any more discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Texera Prince.
Yes.
Mr. McKee.
Yes.
Chairperson Clancy.
Yes.
Mr. Melvin.
Yes.
Mayor Verga.
Yes.
Mr. Minio.
Yes.
Those the action. Anybody have any new business? Okay. So we're going into executive session. Pursuant to executive session, purpose 3 of Mass General Law 30A, Section 21A, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Gloucester, Massachusetts Nurses Association. I so move.
Second.
Okay,
Am I up?
You are up. Go ahead.
Since this is the only item on the executive session, I'm going to recuse even from the vote. As you know, my wife is a member of the MNA. She's a union nurse. So I'm going to log off now without voting on this. So have a great night.
Good night, ma'am.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Texera Prince.
Yes.
Mr. McKee.
Yes.
Chairperson Clancy.
Yes.
Mr. Melvin.
Yes.
Mr. Minio.
Yes.
Okay, and we will, out of executive session only for the purpose to adjourn.